virtually. I'm back in the US, but here for today's presentation. So, yeah, good to see you all today.
Oh, we love you guys too.
Yeah.
Yeah, we only have an hour to be together. It's such a pity. All right, it's early in the morning, 9:33. So in my presentation, if our presentation, if you fall asleep, it's okay. I love you the same. Okay, because like today in Taiwan, we just started the day. It's like very early. But for Daniel, it's almost about time to shut down. So if we have some words that's wrong, please forgive us. Okay, love us the same. Okay, today we're going to talk a little bit about Fulbright Culture Ambassador, since like all of you are the second year, and then developing your professionalism and then empathy. This hour's topic, but it's a very short time. So if you want to have like further conversation with us, you're more than welcome. Yeah, okay. So we're going to go ahead and start. And I'll be looking at the other screen is because the PowerPoint is on the other side of me. Okay. It's not, you're not in my kitchen. I love you guys. Okay. I know it's early and then it's hard for you to think, but there are some questions we want to hear from your experience. So like later, if you have some ideas or have some of these experience, you can just go ahead and raise your hand and we would like to hear from you, or you can put it in the chat box. Okay, so because it's around like culture, community, ambassadors, so like these are some experiences we want to hear from you. What are some of the successful experience like mingle with your community in Taiwan? I can have like a little idea of what this question we want to ask is like, for example, when I went to the US to study, I only have my class, my cohort. And then I figured out like there's these outdoor programs, which is awesome, like go to waterfalls, go hiking. So then I decided to join and I love it. And then I meet a lot of like local people or like friends there. So like that was like one of like a successful experience for me to mingle with the community there. So would love to ask like some of your experience since you come back, you and came to Taiwan last year. Maybe you changed sites, but like the past 6 months you might be in one place. What are some of the community that you have connect with? Okay, but before I ask your experience, I have a scale 1 to 10. Okay, you can put it in your chat box. If it's 10, means you have a lot of experience that you mingle with your community. Okay, if it's like 1, it's like, no, I don't really have any experience like working or mingling with the community. Okay, can you go ahead and type, okay, Fred, later I'll interview you. Okay, how about other people? Okay, everybody, yeah, thank you, Danielle. Yeah, 7.25, I like that.
She's the math. She likes her math.
Yeah, thank you. Wow. Okay, there's 9. Like, seems like all of you have different experience that mingling with. And if you don't have a lot of experience, it's okay, because like some of the places it's hard to be with this community. And in the future, if you feel like it's your new site, you feel like you have some hard time like building these relationships, please reach out to your coordinators or reach out to us. Okay? All right. And it will be nice that if I can, yeah, maybe Fred, you have a 10. Would you mind share like one of your experience that you feel successfully mingle with your community, if that's okay?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
I just tried to do a lot of different things in the community, like whatever interested me, I tried to just go and join, kind of like you said, with joining the outdoors club. Like I started taking piano lessons, even though I don't like really play piano. Like, and they're like, "Who is this? Who's this foreigner coming into our piano studio?" And I was like, "Hey, can I take lessons?" And they're like, "Okay, sure, come on in." And like, just going places. Like, I made really good friends with this cafe owner. Everybody in Kinmen knows the quiche guy, and so we just became best friends. And then he like introduced me to a lot more community members as well.
So like joining some of these activities in community, and then one person, and then it's like a snowball, like more and more. Yeah, and some of them you click and become best friends. Thank you, Fred. Yeah, I think I saw a Allison 7.25. Would you mind share some of your experience, if it's okay? Yeah.
Hi, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Hi.
So I would say I put like a 7.25 because I did get really close with some of my coworkers. I did an English chat room at my school to help some of my co-teachers and coworkers practice English, and through that I got like invited to go on hikes with families. I met this one of my coworkers' sons proudly proclaimed that I am his best friend. So I have a new best friend. He's 6. And then beyond that, I got really involved in the Jewish community in Taipei. And it was kind of a mix of like foreigners and native Taiwanese people. So I don't know, I just felt like I had some experience mingling. I think I definitely want to try to mingle more with the community this year, but I feel like I did a pretty good job last year.
Thank you, Allison. Yeah, it's a good start to start from the school, because like schools, the teachers, LETs, they're local people, and then there will be some chances they know more people than all of us. And then it's nice to have some hike with the family. That's really cool. And thank you for sharing like also your identity, like some of these groups, and then there are some Taiwanese and with your identity together, and that's also super nice. Yeah, thank you. Is there anyone? Oh, sorry, I mute myself. Is there anyone who wants to share? Maybe one more. Hi, is Esther here?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, hi, Esther. Would you mind share some of your experience? You have an 8.
Wait, sorry, can you repeat that again?
Like, would you mind sharing some of your experience being going with the community?
Yeah, I like to play badminton. So there's like a local gym, and I'd go there during pre-COVID times, like almost every night. And then I learned to make friends with the people who played there, and start hanging out with them. And so that was fun.
Thank you, Esther. So like sports is also a good way to get along with people. Yeah. And if your community is hard, it's okay. Like, please don't blame yourself, because like some of it is affected by the environment too. Okay. All right. Thank you guys for sharing. Go ahead, Danielle.
Yep. Okay. So let's look a little bit about thinking about what are your expectations, and we can think about this from the perspective of what were some of the expectations you had coming in as a first year, what were some of the goals you had, and what were some of the challenges and when some of those expectations maybe weren't met or things were very different than what you expected. Because we want to think about this, and has a lot to do with how we communicate too. So is there anyone who'd like to share one of their experiences about what maybe your expectations were or goals were, some challenges you faced and how you maybe overcame that, or what you learned from that experience? Is there anybody who'd like to share in that domain? Nope. I get the card question.
like that's a lot of questions. Like, how about we
break it down?
Break it in. Yeah. I think that will be nice. I can put down my answer. Like, I imagine I am a first year EPA. How about expectations?
Yeah. I mean, my example is I expected to have a lot of challenges with the language. That was one of my expectations, because I still speak basically no Chinese. So I knew coming over that and teaching, I also didn't expect to be teaching in a public school for 6 months last year, my second year. And I had to be much more flexible to support the program, which is my primary goal here, is to support ETAs and to support Fulbright. So my experience was my expectations were I would be doing one job, but they asked me to do something very different. And a lot of changes happened last year. So think about those expectations, those challenges, and those goals, your experience with that. But I was very happy with it. It turned out really great. Very happy for the change after I embraced the fact that I was moving. So.
I could share.
Thank you.
I've been like learning Chinese for a while, and I really wanted to improve my Chinese coming to Taiwan, but I think like I didn't anticipate just like how much of an effort it would be to be intentional about practicing, especially after like long school days. And my schools didn't like allow me to use Chinese also. And like after a long day of work, I the last thing I wanted to do was just like spend an hour or so studying Chinese. I'm hoping that this year, especially like once things calm down and we transition to like our lives here again, I'm hoping to just set aside more time to be intentional about that, and maybe set small goals instead of like really big goals.
Thank you, Emily. Anybody would like to share? We can do 2 or 3, I think would be fine. I like the small goals too. Let's see. Allison, go ahead. Thank you for raising your hand.
No problem. I was just gonna say that, like, I guess I was expecting, I'm a certified teacher in the States, so I was expecting to do more kind of like lesson planning and more of like the administrative stuff that that is kind of associated with teaching and like having your own classroom in the States. And I ended up doing not a lot of either of those things, not a lot of lesson planning on my own, or like any of the administrative stuff like grading or like anything like that. I think kind of as a goal for this year, I do want to get more involved in like lesson planning and incorporating like my own teaching style into the classrooms that I'm working in. Yeah, I feel like that answers the questions.
Yes. Yeah, I feel where you're coming from that way too. It's quite a bit different from what you would expect to have your role be sometimes. All right, do we have anyone else? We haven't heard from a lot of you. So is there anybody else who'd like to share before we move on? I'm trying to think.
I'll share.
Go ahead. Thank you.
Yeah.
Denise.
One thing I think is challenging, since we're like in a program where we're all kind of doing the same thing, is comparing to other people's experiences, and like some people getting really close to their LETs or having just like a lot of freedom in the classroom. So I think one thing I really want to do this year is try not to compare and to have an expectation that everyone's experience is going to be similar, because we are at different schools, and even though the position can be similar, it can be a very different experience for each person.
Yeah, I mean, the number of ETAs is the number of unique experiences you have for our program. Nobody's experience is in many ways at all comparable to another, except that you're all part of this great, program and have the opportunity to be here. And I think that that's something that can be really hard, not to compare each other. But I think that's a great lesson to take away and to keep in the framework of things for the next year. And please share those nuggets with the new people coming in when they get here. And because those are the things that they need to hear over and over from the people who are here. And as we're talking about, the ETF position is kind of a new thing, but you are the ones who have been here for at least a semester or more. This is a new kind of role that you're taking, and it is going to evolve and change. We have the goal that ETFs will be able to continue your own growth professionally, personally, as a cultural ambassador. And a lot of that is going to be pushing yourselves to make sure you're still growing, and to reflect and say, I don't need to compare my experience to someone else's, or I am ready to take on more responsibility and I do want to do more lesson planning. So how can I approach my situation knowing that I have those goals, and knowing that it might be different? So you can use all of that to push yourself forward and take on a greater responsibility for yourself in the direction you want, rather than just absorbing everything like you did when you first got here, because everything was brand new. You can now take that and you can have more agency, I think, this year, and really take that everything you've learned and put it into a perspective to push you forward and get the most out of the next stage of your experience. I think that's what our goal is for today. Okay, back to you, Jane.
Fun. Thank you, everybody, for sharing all your experiences. Yes, these are really valuable. And yeah, like some of you came here like only 6 months. Some here like to adjust, because it needs a lot of time to adjust. And now it's like maybe your seventh month, or like your second year or third year. Yeah, everybody's in their different stage. So like just let your pace like be with you. Okay, and we're gonna go into a little activity. You can also play with your students, but also we want it's called Share Feelings. So actually, it's a board game. I don't know, have any of you heard of this feeling game? But when we turn it into like activities online, this is something you can use. So it's a game that we can help others. We can feel others' feeling or express others' feelings, because that will be very important when we're like having communication with other people, or like later on you will have lots of chances to talk with your LETs. Yeah, like these will empathy could be a very helpful tool for everybody. So like this activity actually will have 3 parts. The first one is we will give out a scenario, and then we'll identify a goal, and then we will review the scenario. Okay, but today we're gonna identify this goal as ETA. Okay, you just think that maybe the scenario, what will this ETA feel? Okay, and the second one is we give out the scenario, and then you will guess who guess 2 of the strongest feelings this role might have. Okay, and because of the time, we don't have time to give out the scores. Yeah, sorry. If you guess this role right, then you get 2 points. If you get 1 right, you get 1 point. And if you miss, you didn't guess any of the right feelings, it's okay. Nothing happened. You're still awesome. Okay. So later, I will pick one of the ETAs that pops on my screen first. I think it's Aaron. Aaron, are you here? Aaron, can you hear me?
Me?
Yeah.
Hello, I can hear
Is
you.
it me?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
There's 2 Aarons.
Oh, there's 2 Aarons. Okay.
At least 2 Aarons. I don't know.
Yes. Okay. Sorry. Aaron, Niederm. That Aaron.
Yeah,
I can't
me.
see the
Hi.
whole name. Okay, the other Aaron, I still love you, okay? So, how do you
Thank
pronounce
you,
it?
Aaron.
Sorry. Yeah.
You
How do
too,
you
Aaron.
pronounce Niederman? Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Aaron, would you mind to be the role leader for this activity? It's really easy. You just need to show your feelings when I tell you to let us know. Okay?
I
Okay?
got you, Zane. Sounds good.
Okay. Okay, great. All right. So, I'm going to give a more introduction. Okay. So later I will show a scenario and then you're going to guess Aaron's two feelings. Okay. And then there will be numbers on the PowerPoint. Okay, so just pick two numbers from that and put it in your chat box. Okay, if this scenario, what would Aaron's this ETA feels? Okay, so you will put in two numbers in the chat box later. Okay, and then Aaron, I need you at that time. Okay, I'll ask you what is your feeling at that time. Okay, whoever gets it right get 2 points. If you get one right, it's 1 point, and you miss, you're still awesome, and it's okay. Okay, and then probably I'll interview a little bit, Aaron, like how would you feel in this scenario and why you picked these two feelings. Okay, is that okay? All right. All right, so we're gonna go ahead. The first scenario, okay, this happens a lot in the Taiwanese culture, okay? It's school starts, it's Saturday, but your school starts on Monday, and your school have not given you the actual schedule for the coming semester, okay? So everybody's clear. Erin, you don't need to show your answers first, okay? We'll let other ETF share first. It's Saturday and Monday. Your school haven't give you any of the schedules yet. Okay, guess what is Aaron's feeling? Okay, so there's gonna be 8 feelings. So go ahead, put in your chat box. Okay, what would Aaron feel in this scenario? You can pick 2. Okay, yeah. Aaron, I hope your answer is in these 8 ones. If not, you can create more of the feelings on the list. Okay. Okay, seems like there's a 2, 4, 2, 5, 2, 5, 2, 4, 2, 4. Maybe Aaron will surprise you. Okay. All right. So I want to, okay, everybody put their answers down. Yeah. Okay, we'll give 10 more seconds. Okay, it's important to count down with the students. Okay, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, ding, 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 2, 1. Okay, there's different ones. Okay, Aaron, would you mind sharing your feelings? Like if it's this scenario, what are some of your feelings? What number
Yeah,
would
for
it be?
sure. So I would say 2, no doubt. I would definitely be coming in feeling a little anxious just because I wouldn't know what to expect. Maybe I'd feel annoyed if this was something that I had experienced before. You know, like if this was something that happened like last semester, you know, I'm like, oh, here we go again. I don't know what I'm going to be getting myself in for. I think the feeling that I wish I was represented on this board, though, would be excited, though, because on some level, like, it's the first like week of school, and things can still go really well. And so I would be a mixture of anxious, potentially a little bit annoyed, and also excited.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. You just answer what I'm going to ask you. Like, what are some of the other feelings you might have? Thank you. So, like, if it's on the board, some anxious, some worries for sure, because all of you are really responsible people. You want to, like, know the schedule and can plan things. Yeah. And also a little bit annoyed, right? Yeah, a little bit annoyed, like, oh, again, because, like, sometimes the school, they start late, so they give you the schedule late. Yeah, and also excited because like there is new coming things. Yeah. All right, let's see. Allison, Danny, Aster, good job, Lillian. There's a have to five, Reese. Good job, good job. Austin, I wish I could give Lindsay, I wish I could give you 2 points, okay? But I'll give you a kiss instead. Okay. And thank you, Erin, for showing us your feelings. Okay. Yeah.
All right. So one of the things that we want to start thinking about more is why does this situation happen? We know something like this is very common, and it is difficult for us to make adjustments. And the first year, it can be more, maybe even more stressful than the second, where you like Erin kind of hinted at, you kind of know some of these things might happen, so you might have a little bit of heads up. But think about what is happening behind the scenes. How are your what are your LATs dealing with? What is your school staff dealing with that creates a situation that, although they want to provide you with as much information as possible, why might they not be able to? So let's talk about what are some of the things that could be going on that they're not going to tell you what's happening, but have you found out any of those things of why it's happening, or what do you think could be happening? Why might this situation exist, and what might be going on for the other people that are trying to give you as much information as they can, or you're not getting what you need? What do you think is going on? So does anybody have some things that they could share from your previous experiences of what might create that? Lauren, go ahead.
And so is this specific to the last situation?
Okay, yeah. You can go. You can go. You can spin it a little if you need to for your point. Okay. That'll totally work.
Yeah. So I was kind of in that situation last year where I didn't have a schedule for about a week, and it became a big discussion. I was just like, what am I supposed to be doing? And I was getting really stressed out and just frustrated. But really, I just started asking. And it was because they didn't want to burden me. Like, they were worried that I was stressed from moving to the school. And they also, this is a big thing I just think in general. I've had in most of my schools, a lot of my LETs or co-teachers have been in admin. And like, until I was in the office with them, I didn't understand how much work that entails. Like, I had teachers that were trying to like balance payroll while also trying to get their classes done and then also lesson plan with me. And so like trying to get everyone's information, like they were just trying to keep their head above water. And there were times where I had no idea this was actually going on until one of my LATs explained there had been a very tragic incident at my school. And the teacher, my LAT basically just assumed the role of the principal, just like overnight. So it became so much extra pressure already on top of her administration duties. So it was a lot of just being very empathetic and knowing that, sure, like we may have like our 20 or 18, however many classes you have, but a lot of the LETs will have a bunch of classes and also admin work, or they're trying to take on this other side project that the school wants them to take care of, or they're in charge of filming like pre-lessons. But I mean, definitely be empathetic, but also just ask, because I think a lot of schools are just like, oh, you're a bit stressed out right now, don't worry about it. And I'm like, no, like I want to be in your classes, please. And I think that wasn't what they were expecting, but just trying to be as flexible as possible, I found out really helped just kind of merge into any of the schools that I went to.
Thank you. All right, who else would like to add? Oh, Tara, go ahead and kind of explain what you just wrote in the box. Why don't you go from there? That would be a great way to continue.
So this past semester at my school, my main school, only one of the LETs felt like pretty comfortable in her English, and everyone else didn't have as high of a English ability. So everyone ended up trying to translate everything through her. But even then, she felt very like hesitant about her language abilities, and that led to a lot of like just misinformation. And it wasn't something that I realized until later on in the semester. And I tried to remedy that by shouldering more of the burden of having my meetings in Mandarin instead of having it in English, just so the language barrier wasn't as much of a problem.
Thank you. Allison, wrong button. I think there was a question that came up in one of my workshops last year, Tara, that relates to that. That there are sometimes meetings that happen in Mandarin, and sometimes you want to be involved. A lot of us want to be involved in everything, and there's a lot of meetings that happen that we may or may not get invited to. And I say we because I was in the role of teaching in the classes here too. And as a foreigner and a foreign teacher, that happens a lot. And it's because there's so much of that administrative stuff that needs to get done that we may not need all of that information, and they may not include us because this is the flip side of what you're saying, because we may not need all that information, or it's more difficult for us to be there than not. So sometimes we have to be like, okay, have your meeting and then let me know what I need to know, and we can follow up with questions. And then the flip side is, if you or other ETAs do have that information, be willing to go to meetings if you're invited. Use the language you have if you're comfortable, and figure out that boundary, but don't expect that they're going to translate everything. That is not their job. And I have seen other people who are like, kind of demand or expect that. And I think it's important that now that, Tara, you've had that experience, you can share that with other ETAs and let them know that it's wonderful if they invite you, but don't expect, their job is not to translate a whole meeting for you. So I think having that experience, that's going to be something you can share with others in the future, and definitely help you next semester of negotiating where and when and what your role will be in those administrative duties. That we do want to be as much of the community as possible, but we cannot do everything, and they don't need us to do everything. So thank you for sharing that. Anything else to add on that, you guys? Where I'm already looking at the time and seeing we have less than 20 minutes. So this is the dialogue we want to have today. Jane and I are really happy to hear these responses. But is there anything else you'd like to share with this example before we move on? Okay, Jane, I think it's back to you.
Yeah, I'm also taking the time. It's really short. Okay, because I also respect all of your time too. Yeah, thank you for waking up early to be with us. Okay, so we're gonna go on to the second scenario. Okay, because this is sometimes Chinese culture, like setting your boundaries too. So you might have some feelings that you would like to share too. Okay, so scenario 2. I will also invite one of the ETF. What's on my screen is Aaron. Are you here? Aaron. You're like, yeah, it's you. Can you hear me? Yeah.
Hello. Hello. Yes.
Okay. Would you be the person that later reveal your feelings later? Yeah.
Sure.
Of the scenario. Okay, thank you so much. Okay, so scenario 2 for everybody is your schedule is already packed, but your LET tells you an English competition is coming up and they need your help. Okay, so remember, your schedule is packed. You have lots of, like, you have 16 to 20 period of classes, and they're asking for more things. What might be some of your feelings? Okay, Aaron, not here yet. Okay, like you can just type in the chat box. Okay, if you are Aaron, you are this ETF role, what are some feelings you might be facing? Okay, also pick 2 of the feelings you guess that Aaron might have. Wow, it's so different. It's great diverse. It's really interesting that you will guess this person's feelings. Like, everybody will have different feelings, and it's okay. Okay, I'll give a little countdown. Okay, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. Hi, Aaron. If it's in this scenario, your schedule is packed, your OT asking you to do more things to need your help, what are some of your feelings?
I would definitely feel like a little bit anxious, overwhelmed about like I might be spreading myself too thin, a little like frustrated if they were I felt like they were asking too much of me, but also part of me I think would feel kind of excited or happy, like honored that they asked me. So like mixed feelings for sure.
So like if it's on this chart, maybe it's 2 and 4, but like exciting. I should add exciting on this chart too. Yeah, like you were excited or honored, like they asked for you. Thank you so much. So 2, 4. Thank you guys, and thank you, Erin, for sharing with us, because like some like surprises pops out. Sometimes it makes you anxious and frustrated because you want to do a good job, but you have a lot of things already. So later we'll share some like how can we set this boundary in a polite way to protect yourself. That is really important. Or you feel excited and you want to join, that's okay too. We just want to make sure that you have this feeling being protected. Okay? Thank you, Erin, and thank you guys.
All right, so it's the same question as before. For this, it's what do you think is going on behind the scenes that the staff is suddenly asking you to help, when you know that? So the frustrating part is sometimes you're like, well, they must have known that this competition was going to happen. Why are they only asking me now? That's always I always come into that. So what do you think might be going on? And I know this situation happens a lot. Does anybody have anything they'd like to share, or what do you think is happening that this is coming to you all of a sudden? The other one is the translations that get asked a lot. Lindsay, go ahead. Lindsay H. raised your hand.
Yeah. I know that in a lot of the presentations for the schools, at least in Kaohsiung, when it was saying things we expect of the ETF, pretty much all of them said readers theater and or English competition. So maybe, and this is very simple, maybe they figured that you already knew that this is kind of something that you were responsible for, signed up for, because a lot of them put them in their presentations, and that it might be silly to have an English foreigner, a native English speaker at your school and not ask them to help with an English competition. So maybe they expect you already kind of know or see it coming without even bringing it up. That's my answer.
Yeah, I think I had to ask specifically, when is it happening, so that I knew how to plan the time, because they told me it would be happening, but they didn't give me any details on it. So I had to be very direct and ask about that. And so if like you said, if you have that information in advance, you can be proactive about it. And that's a good thing. When you have site-by-site workshops, now that you guys have that experience, forewarn the new guys that likely these things are going to be coming up, and see if they can get ahead of the game, and then do that. Any other situations that are similar, or managing those kind of conversations about, again, those extra responsibilities that may suddenly come up? Translations, competitions, school presentations, halfway through the semester, something new pops up and you're already full. Anybody have something they'd like to share? Allison.
I love talking to you, Danielle and Jane. But last year I signed up to help with this like English play competition thing, and I didn't really realize it at the time, but it basically took away my nap time for like a month and a half, like 6 weeks almost, which was not exactly what I thought it was going to do when I signed up for it. But I ended up really enjoying the process. Yeah, Reese gets it. I really enjoyed the process, but I was like working with another teacher, so I just had to be like really honest with her. And I was just like some weeks I was just like, I need my nap time. I just like need it. And like, it kind of taught me from that experience that like, if I was going to sign up for anything, even if I really wanted to do it, I needed all the information before I could like really commit to it. I ended up really enjoying it and I had a blast. But I would definitely like leave school every day very tired because I didn't have my like midday nap. Um, but it definitely taught me to like they want you to help them because you are the native English speaker, but like at the same time you have to have like your boundaries. And you have to realize that like your planning time, your rest time, your break time is important to you, and like long term you need to like kind of be like, okay, maybe I can help with this like 3 days a week, but like 2 days I need to like rest, or I need to like plan, or I need to like, I don't know, just sit in my office and contemplate my life issues. So I don't know.
Balance. Okay, thank you, Allison. All right, so I think I hear a lot about being honest, being flexible, being proactive, and knowing your boundaries and communicating all those things. That's what you guys are talking about in these discussions, and I think you've learned that. So we want to keep that in mind and to share. Yes, you can go on to the next slide, Jane. I think that's the next one, right? Yes. So looking at one thing I want to keep in mind is remembering when things get frustrating and challenging, and you've chosen to be here. But keep in mind, why are you here? Why have you chosen to be an ETF this year? This is a really unique opportunity. It's only 6 months to 2, maybe 3 years of your life. You get to be here and be here. And why are you here? Are you here for your personal and professional growth? Are you here to try and, change and grow and have new perspectives and new ideas? I've been working and traveling and living abroad for a quarter of my life. And it is by no means easy. It's a difficult choice, but it's a choice where I choose to experience, learn about, and engage with another culture, as do all of you. And when things get tough, we have to remember that we've chosen we've chosen to do this, and we've chosen to be here as a service. We are here to serve. I'm here as an advisor. I choose to come and serve Fulbright ETAs and LETs. As an ETA or ETF, you are coming and choosing to serve your community, your students and schools, and to be a part of that as actively as you can. And 99% of the time, we can do that in a positive way, and we engage with people very actively. But sometimes the situations get really frustrating. Like last year, there was so much going on, and we can get kind of get turned around, and we can get, we have to protect ourselves, and sometimes we get a little bit aggressive, or we just don't communicate what we need because we're trying to protect ourselves in some ways. So we have to kind of remember to come back to where we are. Jane, I think you can go to the next slide. I think I'm ready for that. So what my experience has taught me, and what I'd like for you guys to, I hear it already. I hear your words. And I hear that you're sharing these perspectives of having the honesty, the flexibility, the gratitude for this position. And as an ETF, I hope you will continue to promote that and share that with the new ETAs that come, to keep this mindset. And what I've learned from coming from a point where, I was new and I knew what I was doing, and situations were really frustrating. And sometimes I got caught up in the moment and didn't always respond in a way that was helpful. And sometimes I hurt those around me just because I was so frustrated with what was going on. And what I've learned is that in any community or organization we live in, we can only see and understand certain parts of the situation. So it's really important to, before you react, think about what's going on around you and the other people. We almost never have all the information, especially when we're in a foreign situation and we are the outsider, and coming into something for a limited time. We try to be as much a part of it as we are, but we can't always understand everything. So the goal is to work with those around us to find solutions. I had a colleague once who I was explaining my frustration with the situation. She's like, well, I know what the situation is. That's not helping me at all. I'm like, it would be much more helpful to me if you could provide some solutions. And I remember when I was at that point, I'm like, oh, she's right. And I do want to do that, but I'm sharing too much of the negative and not giving her the positive information and feedback she needed, because she was the one who had all the extra administrative duties, all the extra things on top of what I was doing. She had so much more on top of doing the same thing as I and 3 levels above. So we were good friends and good professional colleagues, but I was trying to find a way to communicate better. And when she said that, it made a huge difference to me. And I'd like you guys to share that and keep that kind of idea in mind for all of your situations when there is that moment of anxiety and frustration and maybe a little annoyance of those situations, so that we can be more effective communicators and really work together in the future. And this is something that, as you know, the new guys coming in, sometimes it's helpful to share our experiences so they can understand these perspectives a little more and have better communication and experiences in the future. All right, Jane, I think it's back to you. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you again for sharing. It's really important having that empathy for every situation, but also some of your needs is really important too, because that's something we also care about.
Yeah.
So like, how can we communicate our needs? Like Allison said, like having those commitments, you need to have more information. Like you have to take care of some of your needs. I need to know what our schedule looks like before I join, but I really want to join. It's like having those conversations that could help us during these situations. So here are some tips for communicating with empathy and in culture in mind. Is sometimes you can use some of the questions or to start with these conversations. Communicating with language, acknowledging, appreciate your partner's work, effort, and feelings, and then also your thoughts are also important. So like two parts could be balanced. So you can start with, like, I noticed that I was learning about what does the schedule look like, because I really want to help, but I also have a lot of things that is planning. Yeah, so like using some of this wording could really help. Like, who can I talk to about helping? I think blah, blah, blah is a great idea, but you also want to consider which part. Okay, these are some of like things in my mind. Okay, so here are some tips for everybody. Okay. Yeah.
All right.
Okay. And make sure that you ask for more details and to gather more information before you jump into like a decision, because that might burden you, like take away your nap time. Yeah, like there will be lots of consequences that, and understand your partner's point of view. Okay, rather just like blaming or judging, like right or wrong. Okay, so like to have like these balanced two sides. Okay.
All right. And I think so a big part of this is, and it takes a lot of practice, I'm still learning about it, is reflecting rather than reacting. Best intentions, all the experience we have, we will find ourselves in situations where something changes unexpectedly and you can't do what you wanted to do. You're tired that day, whatever it is. And sometimes you just do not react the way you want to, or you don't respond to a situation the way you want to. And it's like, what can you do to get out of that and into a new situation? An example would be a day you don't have time to really plan with your co-teacher. You think you know what you're doing, and okay, you do this and I do this, and you get into the classroom and something happens and the communication breaks down and it doesn't work. And for me, I tend to get frustrated with that. And I remember one day in particular, I was in the middle of an activity and my LAT asked me to do something completely different, like in the middle of it. And I was frustrated with that and had no time to react or respond positively. And I was kind of a little aggressive and snarky with my comments. I was kind of sharp because I was caught off guard. And so at the end of that class, we had a break and I was able to kind of recollect and rephrase my wording and find a new solution for the next part and talk to her about that change. And it's kind of like, I wish I could have change that beforehand, but what can I do afterwards, and to make sure that I'm responding professionally in those situations. And it can be difficult if we get close to our colleagues and close to the staff. Sometimes I am very guilty of having done this in my past, of kind of reacting to them more like family than colleagues. And sometimes I take it out a little bit more and a little bit less professionally than I would like to, just by the way I do it, or getting caught in my emotions. So the goal is to try and make sure you do everything you can to prevent that from happening, so that you know yourself, you know your communication styles, you learn about the way others communicate by culture or by individuals, and you try to strategize so you can reflect and respond rather than react to the situations that are coming up, because there is a lot of stress involved with living and working overseas. And you guys already have that experience, so part of this workshop is not just telling you guys these things because you have experienced them, but letting you prepare to share this to the next group and keep these things in mind, especially during those transition times, because they do look to you. And it's not about, oh, I know all the answers. I don't. You don't. But we can share our experience, and we can kind of help them along and maybe make it the transitions a little easier, and improve the responses that we are engaging with each other professionally and respectfully in challenging situations, and when communication does break down or all information gaps happen. I think that's the goal, right? Okay. So we are about out of time. Any questions? We want to thank you for your time and listening and sharing. We have a couple resources that you can look at if you want some tips to share. These work well with colleagues. These also work well with your students. The second link in this list is more for things you might use with your students. But the first one, if you scroll down a little bit, Jane, you can see some quick tips. Don't bury the lead. Be upfront with what you need. Be a good listener. That's really critical. Understanding your style, respect their communication preferences. Pick your moments. That's a really important one. I've heard a lot of second years comment about choosing the time when to respond and when to communicate with your LATs in school, and finding the time that's most convenient for them, and then for you. Staying constructive and positive, building relationships, but staying professional. That's a tough one for me if I'm working somewhere a long time and people become like family. And address mistakes. Mistakes are okay, but address them and learn from them. So there's some tips there if you'd like to look at some more things to share with you, your students, and people you work with in the future. Jane, go ahead. Say something.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. We can share these resources later to everyone too. Yeah, we don't want to take more than your time, and if you want to have like more conversation, you guys can come to us for sure. Okay, we'll be here to support. Okay, all right. I think that will be today. Kevi, is there anything you need to announce or ready to go?
Cody, I think, yeah.
Yeah.
That's it from us, though.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Go have
guys.
breakfast. Okay, good to see all of you. I hope to see you guys soon. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Bye, guys. Thank you, Janine. Thanks, Joe. Thank you, Jennifer, Aaron. Have a great day. Thank you.